Hello, New York Giants fans, and welcome to the Valentine's Views podcast for Monday, August 12th. I'm your host, Ed Valentine of Big Blue View. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel to support our work. All right, let's talk about the New York Giants quarterback situation. Specifically, let's talk about the Giants backup quarterback situation, not the Daniel Jones situation. Let's talk about QB2 and QB3, Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito. In the wake of what happened on Thursday against the Detroit Lions, game where Lock was 4 out of 10 for 17 yards, threw an interception, had a passer rating of 8.3, and DeVito came into the game and led 2 touchdown drives. There's been, some consternation, some talk on social media, some talk in the Big Blue View comments that DeVito should not only be QB2 for the Giants, but that maybe the Giants should just go ahead and cut Drew Lock and move on. There's always been an undercurrent of why did the Giants, bother to sign Drew Lock, when they had DeVito, from the quote unquote DeVito maniacs who are out there. And the fact that Lock didn't play well on Thursday and now has what's being termed a bad bone contusion and a hip injury, which might be a hip pointer. I've seen a couple different reports on what the injury exactly is, but it's likely that Locke is going to miss some time and that the Giants are going to have to add another quarterback to their 90-man roster. We'll get into some of the options for that here shortly. But listen, first and foremost, let me say this. The Giants are not cutting Drew Lock. Drew Lock is getting $5 million guaranteed from the Giants in 2024. The Giants are not going to give him $5 million to play for somebody else. They gave him a $2 million signing bonus. They've already paid him his offseason workout bonus. They guaranteed him $2.95 million in 2024 salary that they're going to have to pay regardless. So the man is getting $5 million from the New York Giants. They're not cutting him based on one poor quarter of play in the season, in the first preseason game. That's really that. I understand that Drew Lock has not been great in his NFL career, and I'm not here to defend Drew Lock. I'm not here to say that Drew Lock should have been put into competition with Daniel Jones for the starting job, because I don't believe that to be the case. But Drew Lock is not getting cut. Financially, that just isn't feasible. The Giants aren't going to be on the hook for $5 million for a player who they're not going to have on their 53-man roster. So that just isn't going to happen. I get that there are people out there who are staunch Danny DeVito or Tommy DeVito fans, Tommy DeVito boosters. I get it. All right. I don't happen to be one of them. And that's just what it is. I'm not a DeVito maniac. I see an undrafted free agent quarterback with limited physical upside. I still see a quarterback who hangs on to the ball too long. I don't see a guy who can be a long-term starting option as a quarterback in the NFL. I see a guy who can be a backup. Absolutely. Can be a backup, can have a long career as a QB2 or a QB3, can stick in the league for a number of years and have a decent career that way. But I don't see Tommy DeVito as anything more than that. Listen, I understand he played better than Drew Lock on Thursday night. And the way that I see the Giants quarterback situation is this. If you guys read my 53-man roster projections at Big Blue View, you know that the ones that I've made so far this season have had the Giants keeping two quarterbacks and trying to pass DeVito through to the practice squad. That, because that is Brian Daboll's history from his first 2 years. Keep two quarterbacks, keep a third guy on the practice squad. He kept Davis Webb on the practice squad. So, and Davis Webb was one of his favorite players, one of his favorite people, guy that he brought from Buffalo when he became Giants head coach. So my thinking has always been that that is what Daboll would prefer to do. Recognizing the situation as it is now, we know Daniel Jones has an injury history. We see, suddenly now that Drew Lock came up hurt in his first action as a Giants quarterback. I think the Giants have to seriously consider keeping Tommy DeVito, keeping three quarterbacks on the 53-man roster. Brian Daboll kind of hinted at that the other night after the game. He hinted that DeVito's a good quarterback to work with, that he's improved quite a bit. That it's not easy to come in and learn an offense. DeVito's been with the Giants now for 2 full off seasons, and you can't replace all of that time in the Giants offense. It's not easy for a quarterback to come in and pick up an offense quickly and be asked to play, significant snaps without really knowing the full depth of an offense. Yeah, it's very difficult. The Giants were in that situation a couple of years ago with Jake Fromm, young man who really probably never should have been thrown into the situation he was in a couple of years ago as a Giants quarterback coming in from the Buffalo Bills late in the season after a Daniel Jones injury and being forced to play when he barely knew any of the Giants offense. Very, very difficult situation for him. But as I look at the Giants right now, I can certainly see the argument for keeping DeVito as a third quarterback. It's difficult, though, for the simple reason that when you look at the roster, who do you cut? We saw the other night 3 young running backs, Tyrone Tracy, Dante Miller, Eric Gray, all perform well, all look like they belong on the roster. Which one of those guys do you cut? Do you cut, a linebacker who could be useful on special teams on a week-to-week basis, for a third quarterback who may never play? It's a difficult thing to do because you only have 53 spots on the roster. You only get 46 active spots on the roster on a game day. So it becomes a very difficult situation. But I think increasingly, I think it's one that the Giants look at and they might find themselves in the situation of feeling like, if we try to push Tommy DeVito to the practice squad, he may not get there. Even though the new NFL rule says that if you can get him to the practice squad, you can activate him on game day as many times as you want. So they could activate him from the practice squad for all 17 games if that's what they wanted to do. That's what I've thought they would do. But considering the backup quarterback situation around the league, I'm not sure that DeVito gets through waivers. And I think that considering the injury history with Daniel Jones, I'm not guaranteeing that they'll keep 3, but I think that they have to give it serious consideration, and it wouldn't shock me. I don't know if I'm going to do another roster projection before the final one that I'll do right before the 53-man is announced. But if I do, I'm going to think long and hard about keeping a third quarterback, about keeping DeVito on the roster. As I said, it just becomes very difficult to figure out, where you cut another player that could be useful on a week-to-week basis who you might like to keep. One of the reasons for thinking seriously about keeping DeVito is with Drew Lock's injury. We see, and I'm recording this on Saturday night, so let's be upfront about that. I'm recording on Saturday night. This will be our Monday morning show. The Giants might make a roster move before this show, hits the air. But as I record this, the Brian Daboll has admitted that the Giants might need to make a roster move. Listen, they can't get through the rest of the preseason. They can't practice the way they'd like to practice without a third quarterback. They can't go into these preseason games with just Daniel Jones and Tommy DeVito. You don't want Daniel Jones playing simply because there's no other quarterback to play. You want that third quarterback to help you get through the two remaining preseason games, to help you get through the final 2 or 3 weeks of practice. So they're going to have to sign somebody. And if you look at the story we posted on Big Blue View, if you go to overthecap.com or if you go to spottrack.com and you look at available free agent quarterback lists, the list of players who are available, list of quarterbacks who could be signed is simply not impressive. There's nobody out there that makes you sort of bang the table and say, we really should have that guy. Ryan Tannehill is out there, but and I've been asked about Tannehill, but let's be realistic. Ryan Tannehill doesn't want to come to the New York Giants. Why would Ryan Tannehill come to the Giants to compete with Drew Lock for the number 2 spot or to compete with Tommy DeVito for the number 3 spot? Ryan Tannehill is a veteran quarterback who started a lot of games in the NFL, and he's looking for the Joe Flacco situation from last year. He's sitting at home getting ready for a season. He's watching these preseason games. He's waiting for a good team to see its quarterback get hurt in one of these preseason games, to see if there's a place where he can walk in and play. He's looking for an opportunity to come in and be a guy who gets on the field. He's not looking for a place where he has to come in and compete to be a backup job. And I think eventually he'll find one. That's how the NFL is. Quarterbacks get hurt, things happen. A guy like Ryan Tannehill, he might even go into the season unsigned and wait for an injury and then sign somewhere. That's what Joe Flacco did last year. So we'll see what happens, but it's not going to be Joe Flacco. It's going to be someone like Matt Barkley or Jacob Eason, who the Giants signed last year. They had each of those guys briefly at times during the season or during preseason, during the OTAs. It might be Nathan Peterman, another guy who has a connection to Brian Daboll and Joe Shane from Buffalo. But I'm pretty certain that it's going to be someone like that. It's not going to be a big name to come in and compete with Drew Lock. It's not going to be a guy that's going to cost them a significant amount of money. It's going to be a minimum salary type quarterback who can come in, give them 2 or 3 weeks, help them practice, be their third team quarterback, take some snaps in these preseason games and help get them through. Maybe put some things on film that might land him a job somewhere else, once the regular season starts. But it's not going to be a big, splashy move, for a guy like Ryan Tannehill. All right, Giants fans, I think that's pretty much all I have for you today. We'll see how the quarterback stuff shakes out. We'll see how long Drew Lock is out. We'll see how Tommy DeVito continues to play in the next 2 preseason games, and it won't be long before we're at the regular season and before we're at time to cut rosters down to 53, and we'll see what the Giants actually do when the time comes. All right, Giants fans, thank you as always for listening. Please stay safe out there, take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.